Americans spend more than $13 billion a year on ice cream. It is one of the most beloved treats in the country. But what if the brands sitting in your freezer right now are quietly replacing real dairy with cheap industrial fillers, shrinking your containers while raising prices, and, in some cases, failing to meet the basic legal definition of ice cream itself? Tonight, we are going deeper than ingredient lists. We are talking about recalls, lawsuits, federal violations, and a category of products so misleading that the FDA had to step in and rewrite the rules around what can even be called ice cream. We are also going to give you a lifeline. 5 brands that are actually doing it right in 2026, with clean ingredients, honest labeling, and real accountability. 7 brands to avoid. 5 brands worth your money. If you care about what you and your family are putting in your bodies, you need to hear this. Before we get into it, make sure you subscribe to this channel and hit the notification bell so you never miss another video pulling back the curtain on the food industry. Let us get started. Turkey Hill has long marketed itself as a wholesome, farm-fresh brand rooted in Pennsylvania dairy country. The nostalgic red barn on the packaging is designed to make you feel like you are buying something simple and honest. But according to food quality analysts and registered dietitians, the reality behind that label tells a very different story. First, the portion problem. According to consumer tracking website Mouseprint, Turkey Hill has reduced its standard container size all the way down to 46 ounces. That is nearly 30% less than the traditional 64-ounce half-gallon that American consumers grew up buying. Prices, meanwhile, have stayed the same or gone up. Consumer advocates call this shrinkflation, and Turkey Hill is one of the most aggressive offenders in the entire ice cream category. Second, the ingredient problem. According to independent nutrition reviews and the Environmental Working Group's food database, many Turkey Hill flavors contain high fructose corn syrup, artificial colors including Red 40, and multiple gums and stabilizers. According to research reviewed by health experts, the artificial dye Red 40 has been flagged in some studies as potentially contributing to hyperactivity and inflammation, though the science is still developing. Third, and perhaps most importantly, Turkey Hill is now owned by the private equity-backed conglomerate that also controls multiple low-cost store brands. According to food industry analysts, when private equity enters the food space, the pressure to cut ingredient costs and maximize margin is relentless, and consumers are almost always the ones who absorb that cost. When a brand sells you 30% less product at the same price while filling it with artificial dyes and high fructose corn syrup, that is not a bargain. That is a business model built on hoping you do not notice. Kemp's is a Midwest staple with a long history and a friendly, cooperative image. But according to food quality analysts, what is inside the carton does not match the wholesome story on the outside. According to multiple nutrition reviews, Kemp's Neapolitan ice cream contains not 1, not 2, but 3 separate forms of sugar: liquid sugar, high fructose corn syrup, and corn syrup in a single product. According to registered dietitians, when a product needs that much sweetener layered on top of each other, it is a strong signal that the manufacturer is masking the taste of a cheap, low-quality base. Kemp's products also reportedly contain artificial colors, including Red 40 and Blue 1, multiple stabilizer gums, and artificial flavors across many of its product lines. According to the Cleveland Clinic, high fructose corn syrup consumed in excess has been linked to increased risk of metabolic disorders and type 2 diabetes. Food quality reviewers also note that Kemp's, like several brands on this list, has quietly leaned into the frozen dairy dessert category for some of its products, meaning those items legally do not contain enough milk fat to be called ice cream at all, though the packaging is designed to look virtually identical to the real thing. 3 types of sugar: artificial dyes, cheap fillers. That is not ice cream. That is an industrial sweetener delivery system in a cardboard carton. Lucerne is Albertsons' private label frozen dessert brand, and it is one of the clearest examples of a product that is engineered to look like ice cream while being something else entirely. According to food quality reviews, Lucerne sells products labeled as frozen dairy dessert. not ice cream, with sugar listed as the second ingredient and corn syrup listed as the fourth. When the first four ingredients of a frozen dessert include two separate forms of refined sugar, you are not looking at a quality product. You are looking at a cost-engineered formula designed to hit a price point. According to dietitian Tara Collingwood, interviewed by Eat This Not That, consumers should avoid products containing polyorbates, carrageenan, cellulose gums, artificial colors, and high-fructose corn syrup. Lucerne checks multiple boxes on that list. The frozen dairy dessert label is not just a technicality. According to FDA regulations, it means the product does not meet the minimum 10% milk fat threshold required to legally be called ice cream. Yet these products are routinely shelved directly alongside real ice cream, packaged to look nearly identical, and priced in a way that makes comparison confusing for the average shopper. According to food labeling experts, this is not an accident. It is a deliberate marketing strategy, and Albertsons, one of the largest grocery chains in America, has every resource available to do better.
Now, before we get to number 4, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment below and tell me, have you ever noticed a brand quietly changing from ice cream to frozen dairy dessert without making a big announcement? You might be more right than you think. And if this video is giving you information you have never seen anywhere else, hit that like button and share it with someone who deserves to know the truth.
Halo Top revolutionized grocery store freezer aisles when it launched, promising consumers that they could eat an entire pint of ice cream without the guilt. The marketing was genius. The product, according to nutrition experts and published medical research, is a different story. The secret behind Halo Top's dramatically reduced calorie count is a sugar alcohol called erythritol. And here is where things get serious. A landmark study published in the journal Nature Medicine in 2023, widely reported by the Cleveland Clinic and major health publications, found that erythritol was associated with a significantly elevated risk of heart attack and stroke. Researchers found that people with higher blood levels of erythritol had measurably higher rates of major cardiac events. Beyond erythritol, Halo Top products contain stevia, soluble corn fiber, vegetable glycerin, modified food starch, and various stabilizers, ingredients you would never find in real traditionally made ice cream. According to the Environmental Working Group's food database, several Halo Top flavors carry ingredient profiles that raise concerns for health-conscious consumers. Halo Top is now owned by Wells Enterprises, the same company behind Blue Bunny, which in April 2025 issued a voluntary recall of more than 17,800 containers totaling over 53,000 gallons after discovering plastic fragment contamination across 22 flavors distributed to 103 locations nationwide. The FDA classified it as a Class 2 recall, meaning it could cause temporary or medically reversible adverse health consequences. When a brand markets itself as the healthy choice, but fills the product with a sugar alcohol that published cardiac research has flagged as potentially dangerous, and its parent company is simultaneously recalling tens of thousands of gallons for plastic contamination, consumers deserve to know. Few stories in the ice cream industry are as quietly devastating as what Breyers has done to its own legacy. Founded in 1866, Breyers built a 150-year reputation on one of the simplest ingredient promises in the business. Their original vanilla contained just 5 ingredients: cream, milk, sugar, eggs, natural vanilla. That was it. Generations of Americans grew up trusting that label. Then, starting around 2013, Breyers began quietly relabeling many of its most popular flavors. Not ice cream anymore, frozen dairy dessert. According to the FDA, that means those products no longer contain enough milk fat to legally qualify as ice cream. According to Snopes, Breyers confirmed that its frozen dairy dessert products use less cream and more air than traditional ice cream. According to CBS News, consumers noticed the change almost immediately. One longtime customer said her family knew something was wrong the moment they tasted it. A consumer advocate quoted in the same report described the change as a deliberate cost-cutting measure disguised in familiar packaging. The ingredient concerns run deeper. According to a consumer lawsuit reported on by multiple outlets, Breyers was accused of using synthetic vanilla while still labeling the product as natural vanilla flavor, allegedly misleading customers into paying premium prices for an artificial ingredient. And then there is the container. According to consumer tracking website Consumer World and reporting by CBS News, Breyers containers went from the traditional 64 ounces down to 56 ounces and then to 48 ounces. That is a 25% reduction in product volume. Prices did not go down. According to consumer advocate Edgar Dworsky of Consumer World, most shoppers never notice because they are not paying attention to the net weight printed on the bottom of the carton. That is exactly what manufacturers are counting on. Breyers is now owned by the Magnum Ice Cream Company, which was spun off from Unilever in late 2025 as a standalone publicly traded company controlling Breyers, Ben & Jerry's, Klondike, Popsicle, and several other major brands across a portfolio generating over $9 billion in annual revenue. According to Food Dive, the separation involved an €800 million restructuring and the elimination of 7,500 jobs. Whether that corporate reshuffling leads to better products or just more efficient cost-cutting across a larger empire of beloved brands remains to be seen. But the track record so far does not inspire confidence. Friendly's has been an East Coast institution since 1935. The name alone carries decades of birthday dinners, family road trips, and after-school milkshakes. But behind the nostalgia lies a company in serious structural decline, and a contamination record that should concern every consumer who has ever purchased their products. According to court filings and reporting by CNBC, Friendly's parent company filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy protection in November 2020, selling substantially all of its assets for just under $2 million. But that was the company's second bankruptcy. It had previously filed for Chapter 11 in 2011, shuttering 63 locations in the process. Since its peak of 850 restaurants, Friendly's has shrunk to just 4 locations as of late 2025, according to The Street. And the problems extend far beyond the restaurant side of the business. In June 2024, the FDA issued a sweeping recall covering more than 60 products manufactured by Totally Cool Incorporated at a facility in Owings Mills, Maryland. According to the FDA, Friendly's ice cream cakes were among 13 brands recalled due to potential Listeria monocytogenes contamination. According to NPR, the contamination was discovered during routine FDA sampling. The situation escalated further. The FDA went to federal court in March 2025, requesting a permanent injunction against the Totally Cool facility after inspectors found that sanitation problems had not been resolved despite previous citations. According to the FDA inspection report, 11 out of 70 tested areas in the factory contained Listeria, and the same strain had first been detected at that facility as far back as 2017. That is not a one-time slip. That is a contamination problem spanning nearly a decade, continuing through multiple government citations, continuing right up to the point where federal prosecutors had to go to court to force a stop. When the facility making your ice cream cakes has had a known Listeria problem for 8 years and counting, nostalgia is not a good enough reason to keep buying. Bluebell has one of the most devoted fan bases in American food culture, particularly across the South. People do not just like Bluebell, they love it with a ferocity that borders on regional identity, which makes what happened in 2015 and what was discovered in the years that followed all the more disturbing. According to the United States Department of Justice, Bluebell Creameries was linked to a Listeria outbreak that resulted in 10 hospitalizations and 3 deaths across 4 states, with all 3 fatalities occurring in Kansas. The company ultimately recalled over 8 million gallons of ice cream and was forced to temporarily shut down every one of its manufacturing plants. According to the Department of Justice, Bluebell laid off 1,450 employees, more than a third of its entire workforce, as a direct result. But what makes this case different from a tragic accident is what happened behind the scenes. According to federal prosecutors, Bluebell knew about the contamination, but initially chose not to issue a recall. When Texas state officials notified Bluebell in February 2015 that 2 of their products had tested positive for listeria, the company directed delivery drivers to quietly remove the products from store shelves, without informing retailers, without informing customers, and without issuing any public notification. 2 weeks later, when a third product tested positive, Bluebell again chose silence over transparency. According to the Department of Justice, Bluebell's former president, Paul Cruz, was charged with 7 felony counts, including conspiracy and wire fraud, for allegedly orchestrating that scheme to conceal the contamination. In 2023, Cruz accepted a plea deal, pleading guilty to a single misdemeanor and paying a fine of $100,000. For decisions connected to 3 deaths, that was the personal consequence. Bluebell itself pleaded guilty to 2 misdemeanor counts and paid more than $19 million in criminal fines and civil settlements. According to the Department of Justice, that represented the second largest amount ever paid in a food safety case. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the contamination actually dated back to 2010, meaning Bluebell may have been distributing contaminated product for 5 years before the outbreak was publicly recognized. A separate investor lawsuit alleged that Bluebell had discovered listeria in its plants on multiple occasions in 2013 and 2014, but allegedly failed to adequately investigate whether the bacteria could contaminate finished products. The Delaware Supreme Court later ruled that Bluebell's board had failed to maintain adequate food safety oversight. Beyond the safety record, food quality analysts and registered dietitians have flagged Bluebell's ingredient quality as a separate concern. According to multiple publications, including Eat This Not That and the San Antonio Express News, many Bluebell flavors contain high fructose corn syrup, artificial colors, xanthan gum, cellulose gum, guar gum, carrageenan, and soybean oil. According to the Cleveland Clinic, both xanthan gum and high fructose corn syrup consumed in excess have been linked to increased metabolic risk. Bluebell's story is not just about a recall. It is about a company that, when confronted with evidence that its products may be dangerous, chose to protect its business rather than protect the people buying its ice cream. Loyal customers deserve to know that. Now for the news you have actually been waiting for, because this does not have to be a story with no good ending. There are brands out there that are doing it right, with honest ingredients, clean labels, transparent practices, and products that actually meet the legal standard to be called ice cream. Here are 5 brands worth your money in 2026. When people talk about ice cream done right, Häagen-Dazs is almost always the first name that comes up among food quality experts, and for good reason. According to multiple registered dietitians and food quality reviews, Häagen-Dazs maintains one of the shortest and cleanest ingredient lists in the commercial ice cream market. Their classic vanilla contains cream, skim milk, sugar, egg yolks, and vanilla extract. That is 5 ingredients. No gums, no stabilizers, no artificial anything. According to the Environmental Working Group's food database, Häagen-Dazs scores among the top-rated major ice cream brands for ingredient transparency and quality. Their commitment to simple ingredients has remained consistent even as competitors have quietly reformulated their recipes to cut costs. If you are going to spend money on ice cream, spend it on something that is actually ice cream. Tillamook is a farmer-owned cooperative based in Oregon, and that ownership structure matters more than most consumers realize. Because when the farmers who raise the cows also own the company selling the product, the incentive to cut corners on dairy quality is fundamentally different. According to food quality analysts and independent nutrition reviews, Tillamook ice cream uses a relatively simple ingredient list: real cream from cooperative member farms, and no artificial flavors or colors across most of its product line. The brand is also transparent about its sourcing and manufacturing, which is rarer in this industry than it should be. According to consumer food reviews, Tillamook's texture and flavor consistently outperform competitors at similar price points because they are starting with higher quality dairy. Farmer-owned, clean ingredients, real accountability, that is what the ice cream aisle should look like. For consumers who want to go a step further than conventional clean labels, Alden's Organic is one of the most credible options available in major grocery chains. According to the Environmental Working Group and independent food quality reviews, Alden's products are USDA certified organic, meaning the dairy, sweeteners, and flavorings must meet federal organic standards. No synthetic pesticides, no artificial growth hormones, and no GMO ingredients. According to food analysts, Alden's ice cream is one of the few certified organic options available at mainstream grocery retailers at a price point that does not require a second mortgage. Their ingredient lists are short, their sourcing is transparent, and the product legally qualifies as ice cream, not frozen dairy dessert. In a category filled with misdirection, that kind of straightforwardness is worth paying for. Jenny's Splendid Ice Creams, founded in Columbus, Ohio, has become one of the most respected names in American artisan ice cream. And the brand has earned that reputation the hard way. According to food quality analysts and culinary reviewers, Jenny's uses grass-grazed dairy, no artificial flavors, no artificial stabilizers, and a production process built around quality over volume. It is worth being honest here. Jenny's did face a listeria-related recall in 2015, which the company addressed by voluntarily shutting down all production, deep cleaning every facility, and working directly with the FDA to rebuild their safety protocols from the ground up. Food safety experts widely cited that response as a model for how a company should handle a contamination event, in sharp contrast to how some other brands on this list chose to handle similar situations. Today, according to consumer food reviews and food safety analysts, Jenny's is considered among the cleanest and most transparent ice cream brands in the country. Real ingredients, real accountability, and ice cream that genuinely tastes like someone cared about making it. Strauss Family Creamery, based in Marshall, California, is one of the oldest certified organic creameries in the United States and arguably one of the gold standards for what dairy-based frozen desserts can and should be. According to food quality reviews and organic certification records, Strauss uses milk from their own certified organic herd, packages products in returnable glass jars and recyclable containers, and has maintained a commitment to minimal ingredient formulas since their founding. According to registered dietitians and food analysts, Strauss ice cream consistently receives top marks for ingredient quality, dairy sourcing, and label transparency. Their products are not cheap, but they are honest. And in an industry where honesty has become genuinely rare, that is worth something. If you want ice cream that was made by people who actually cared what they were putting in the carton, Strauss is as close to that standard as any major brand available today. So here is what you need to take away from all of this. The ice cream industry has been quietly changing on you for decades, shrinking containers, swapping cream for fillers, slapping frozen dairy dessert labels on products designed to look like ice cream, and in the worst cases, concealing contamination that put lives at risk. But you have more power than these companies want you to think. Every time you read a label, every time you choose a brand that respects you enough to use real ingredients, every time you put a frozen dairy dessert back on the shelf and refuse to pay ice cream prices for a substitute, you are making a choice that these companies cannot ignore. Here is how to protect yourself going forward. Always check whether the label says ice cream or frozen dairy dessert. Look for short ingredient lists. 5 or fewer is a good rule of thumb. Avoid products with high fructose corn syrup, artificial colors, and polyurbates. Compare unit prices per ounce to spot shrinkflation. And when in doubt, look for brands with verified sourcing and organic certification. Your freezer should be full of products you actually trust, not chemistry experiments dressed up in nostalgic packaging. Thank you for watching. If this video changed the way you think about what is in your grocery cart, subscribe to this channel and share this with someone who needs to know. The truth about your food is not always on the label, but it is always worth finding.